You're watching Dota Pit.
Gaming Bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quests for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Game 2 of this best-of-3 showdown here in Dota Pit, Season 5 action. I'm LD. I'm joined here by CCNC, and man, we just got done witnessing EG dismantle them in Game number 1. Coming into Game number 2, EG will be on the Radiant side, and they will have the first pick. As far as bans go, I am curious to see if NP changes anything up. But CCNC, you said stronger lanes is the big thing you want to see out of NP. So any particular heroes that come to mind when you talk about stronger lanes for them?
I'm not sure. Maybe helping out EE more in the lane, picking a strong dual lane for the safe lane. But EG going for this Wisp again, so that sort of gets hard because it ends up just becoming a dual lane mid. Are they gonna go for the same opener? Are they gonna? Wow, Drow?
I mean, this is NP basically saying, it wasn't the strategy, it was our execution that's the problem, or at least the core of the strategy, is they've already picked 2 of those cores. I mean, any reason not to just go into that exact same type of draft?
Man, that's some serious like dominance asserting stuff. If they pick Drow and smash them again with it.
They're like, we're going to mark our territory with this Sven Invoker opening, and there's nothing you can do about it, EG. But I'm not sure, man. All right, EG, they're not going to go for the Drow. They'll get the Axe instead. But given how dominant Universe was last game, I can't say I would argue with that, and it is still essentially looking like a very similar draft thus far.
Yeah, I think picking up the axe early on was really good instead of getting the drow there. That was a crucial part of how they dismantled NP, and it lets you win your safe lane because NP is a team that does, like we saw last game, like do a lot of aggro tri lane. So if you can pick a hero like an axe or a bat rider, a hero that typically dominates 1v1s in the safe lane of whichever team, it just gives you an innate advantage because they farm up faster, they get their blink, quicker. Hero like an axe, a bat rider, offlaners being typically the initiators, and also very good versus Sven Invoker, like we talked about last game. So NP probably would have banned it, so valuing that hero over the Drow, and NP banning up the Drow, so they had to pick one to get, and they chose the Axe.
Drow does get immediately removed, so NP will not allow EG to have the same lineup, and with the Drow ban, it may significantly affect the other core as well. I think a bit less likely we see that Storm, for example, but not to say they would never consider it, just not quite as potent. And now the Ogre removed by EG, so Bloodlust with Sven, strong laning support that can really pressure that IO. What if EG don't go for the Storm here? Like, what kind of lineup do you expect out of them?
I mean, from these first 2 heroes, it just looks like sort of like last game, looking to make sure they're able to fight NP whenever they get equipped for the items, fighting them before they get to their key timing. So, getting fast heroes so far. So maybe looking for a Slark or something like that for Arteezy in the safe lane. Although Slark not the greatest for Sven, pretty good versus Invoker, but Storm, like you said, not amazing without the Drow Ranger versus heroes like this. It's good with the Drow because you can afford to go treads, you can go and then to the Bloodstone afterwards instead of what's becoming more popular nowadays, the Arcanes and Soul Ring. So being able to commit for the treads early so you can dish out all the damage from the Drow aura lets you play Storm sort of in the way he was used to be played, as a very aggressive early fighter instead of more of a farming hero. So I think that's the way Sumail prefers to play it. So I don't know if they'll go for it in this game.
Pick number 3 now. NP did opt to ban that Mirana, as mentioned, and they will take the Warlock, so that's another either, ban or, in this case, a denial pick away from EG. So they are significantly forcing them to change up the draft. EG, though, definitely in the comfortable position here. And curious to see what they do. I mean, really, like, it's half of their draft has now been removed in some form or fashion, so it will definitely be something fresh.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these 2 teams draft against each other because PPD has said in the past that there's a correct way to draft, and EE learned how to draft. He's studied PPD, I know, and has sort of formed how he drafts around the way PPD has. So sort of very similar drafting styles as Crit and the rest of the EG squad, probably having very heavy draft influences to PPD as he is, sort of their coach now. So it's kind of interesting to see how they draft against each other.
Yeah, EG really eating the reserve time, so Anything that they've run recently? I mean, we've seen them in elimination mode. Obviously, I don't really think the drafts there tell you all that much because of how many heroes are removed. All right, Omni's picked up immediately. My head goes to OD. Whatever carry they get is going to be Superman now between the tether, the overcharge, potentially a repel. And NP have already picked 2 of their cores. They don't really have a great diffusal blade carrier.
Yeah, so far definitely a very, very good Omni game. If the Omni is in the right position, super good versus, exactly almost a very, very similar lineup that they had before with those same 2 core picks. So those heroes really favoring fast fights, and if the Omni Knight is in position, can slow those fights down quite a bit. Healing the person that the Sven jumps on, turning the damage back around, and then giving the repel so they can just sort of walk away is a very nice counter to this to the quick fight playstyle that MP is going for in game 2 as well.
All right, NP, pick number 4. Big team fight. Lots of AoE, the order of the day. But EG looking more and more like a run at you in the mid game type of lineup. With, I think, something very important you point out at the end of the last draft and why they seem to favor the Axe and against NP is low cooldowns. And so far, all of these heroes, Quinn, really do have extremely low cooldowns. So I wonder if NP's at all worried about that right now. With the Warlock pick in a vacuum, he still brings the Fatal Bonds. It's not like the end of the world, but if they go too much more into team fight or big AoE spells, could come back to haunt them a little bit.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm curious to see what Sumel's pick is, because I don't think he'll be going for the Storm this game. Probably does, like we talked about earlier, want a more fast hero, and I also think they want to pick Sumel a hero that has a favorable matchup, or at least a good matchup versus the Invoker. As Sumel, as he showed in the last matchup, still has that just the amazing individual skill, known for being one of the best laners in the world. So we'll see if they give him an advantageous matchup going into this game.
All right, Slardar. So NP, very minor deviations in the draft. They are very convinced that this lineup will work well against EG. So I guess ideally you somehow avoid that Slardar vs. X matchup, or MSS just plays it a little more carefully. We'll have to see. I mean,
Yeah,
I honestly, I thought he was going to get a kill there, but Envy did not sunstrike that first crush. I thought there was going to be an immediate sunstrike, and I don't know if Envy wasn't on the same page with him or he just felt like it wouldn't get the kill. So maybe they kind of chalk it up to miscommunication. And then MSS went back in, and he died, and then the sunstrike finally showed up. But there's the OD Omni, so straight out of NA pubs and hot off the presses. But certainly nothing new for these players. They've seen this quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It was super prevalent back in the patch where OD was unbelievably broken, and then everybody's starting to realize that, hey, this Astral Imprisonment spell is pretty good. It's disruption on a core. I know it's balanced, and coming back into popularity, and still very, very good with the Omni Knight. It's a hero that not very good at just sort of walking into the team. Has, obviously being an int hero, his agi doesn't scale very well. Hates buying armor items until 5th or 6th item whenever you get the Shivas. So with the Omni Knight on his side, able to let him commit to the fights a lot easier and get off those arcane orb stacks here, that whenever he is enabled to fight, and they definitely have the supports to do that with the Wisp and the Omni Knight, OD can be just super hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I do like amp damage versus the Omni, as you just kind of hit that hero anyway, even through the repel potentially, but at the same time, I don't know if that's enough to get the kill, and you can't really hold them in place. And they don't really have any BKB piercing disable for now, or magic immune piercing disable, I should specify. As EG round out the draft with an Alchemist. Interesting because it's normally when we see the Alch picks, like there's a lot of good Aghanim Scepters. There's like some okay ones this game, but nothing you're like, oh god, we gotta rush this right away. This just feels like they just think Alch matches up well in general against NP's draft, and with the Sven, it's likely, and Invoker, it's likely to be very heavy on farm. So, do you see EG as like just trying to match them in the farm department, or take it late, or why Alch here?
I think Alch is pretty good here because it does have a nice timing where, like you said, NP's cores take a little bit to come online, so Alch likes to farm during that same period. But if he is able to, if they do let him get that Radiance up, then he has a really nice timing versus their versus NP's timings where, you know, they starting to get the Echo Saber working towards the Blink, Invoker's still farming up, but the Alchemist just turbo farms and does what they do better. And NP realizing that, hey, we can't really take the farming game versus them, so picking the Enchantress and really going to try and stick it to him in this early laning stage. Omni Knight, not typically known for being an amazing laner. And if this is a safe lane OD, which it looks like it is, it's a very punishable hero, so NP gonna try and beat that mid game timing where they have the Radiance, you know, just out farm them and then, you know, just crush you with this massive team fight pickoffs with the axe and the Omni Knight heals.
10 seconds
With
remaining.
this Ench probably gonna put a lot of pressure on this OD in the safe lane.
5
Yeah,
seconds
so
remaining.
an aggressive pick to balance things out, and maybe it solves the laning problem. Even Warlock is, I mean, he's not really the best at like ganking per se, but it's a very difficult to kill support. Oh Jesus.
I only play Sven.
Oh, nice and early with the tears. So both teams just calmly preparing to throw their allies under the bus. Oh.
I love the banter between Arteezy and Ali. It's always a classic.
Oh, God, what did he say in the first? He said something in the first lobby to him. I'm trying to remember what it. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was something about dying to ancients or whatever, because Arteezy did it originally like a year ago or something. And whenever everybody was mocking Owie for dying to the ancients in the game in the Boston Major qualifiers, I was talking to him afterwards. He was like, "Arteezy did it first," and he pasted the YouTube replay into the
I like how
into
he
the
had
lobby.
the replay ready.
Yeah, he pasted the YouTube video, and Arteezy was like, "It's on Lux."
Oh, the excuses never end, but the feeding fortunately also will continue. Somebody's gonna have to give up that clowny kill. If it's not this game, you know it's coming at some point. So both teams, they went for the early smoke rotations. They got down their deep wards. We do see one here for the side of NP. Similarly, one off in the dire jungle. So obviously if you're EG, you're up against a Sven who wants to be farming stacks, an Enchantress who looks to apply pressure on the map, and they've got one ward to guard against their own jungle being invaded, one ward to keep tabs on what she's up to in the dire woods. And I guess this probably means the Sven is going to have an easier time of it. We're not seeing any wards blocking the Ancients for now, and that is, in and of itself, is one of the advantages of this Enchantress pick.
Yeah, it looks like Universe either okay, so he's hitting up the top, so it looks like the Universe is gonna lane versus this versus dual lane of NP, the Sven Warlock. So not an amazing lane, definitely not great at zoning and Axe, as they are realizing that this Enchantress is probably gonna play around mid, play around this bottom lane, and try and pressure these two lanes. So Universe can have a little bit of an opening maybe in trying to punish the not so strong lane up top.
So speaking of Ench, does creep her way down mid. Bounty runes both grab, or sorry, no, one by Envy, one by Sumail. So one for each team. And Sumail already with the completed poor man shield, just looking for that courier snipe. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Oh, got him. So
has been killed.
an early pick there for SVG. It's almost, I feel like it's almost easier to get those courier snipes when you're not like a bounty hunter or a Riki nowadays. Teams just seem to forget once in a while, and a quick punish there from him. But speaking of punishes, Crit already going to work, has the early degen aura, and keeps on whacking him with that mighty hammer. But SVG will just limp away, has the win lace, so should be absolutely fine in the end.
Yeah, this Eng pressuring the Axe a lot, forcing the Omni Knight to play around, so Universe getting very little XP from that camp, and it was a Centaur camp as well, I believe, so not an easy camp to clear, and Universe not going to have near as fast a start as possible. Still only level 1 at, you know, a minute and a half roughly, just getting level 2 from that Satyr camp, so...
Yeah, and
SVG,
you know, you said he was going to... Like, last game he got the Iron Talon, then he went to the lane. Now this game, he starts with the extra regen and the stat shield, and he goes to the jungle, so... Kind of interesting how it's worked out. Now, to be fair, Universe maybe didn't have the ideal items for lane last time, and he still dominated, so wouldn't be surprised if he goes off this time around. But as I say that, maybe the slight jinx is in. They're not going to let him have these neutrals for free, MSS. Talk about being hounded, whether it's the Enchantress Leech, his experience, the Centaur, now stunning Zai, or Slardar coming in. They are putting a lot more pressure on Universe, Quinn.
Yeah, I think this build from Universe actually is pretty good. Realizing that the Enchantress is going to be playing around in this jungle, playing behind this mid tower, and trying to just mess with the Alchemist jungle, mess with the Axe. So not going for the very regen light build of the Iron Town, actually going for more of your stereotypical laning build, but still going to the jungle. Not something you typically think of. I didn't even realize it at first, but I think that was planned, knowing that the Ench would mess with him, and so having the extra regen, not going to jungle quite as fast, but also not going to be able to be zoned out of the lane like Axe typically would versus an Enchantress.
Okay, so you think basically he actually anticipated this from the get-go?
Yeah, I think he actually did that on purpose.
Gotcha.
Because he sort of postured himself that way. Like, it looked like he maybe wanted to go top. He was sort of walking back and forth between them, but I think this was intentional.
Well, NP very intent on this top tower, as they will move in with the creeps. Have the ever brilliant Hadouken, so they'll bring down the wave with ease. Combine that with the cleave, and now we already cutting the wave. They're gonna find Universe. He TP'd in, but there's a lot of units surrounding him. He's gonna start to spin here with the call. Goes in onto SVG, who's been tanking tower. Does not have a point in the attendance yet. Might even go down. Universe is like, I gotta get something out of this, but the first blood to Owie.
He spun. What?
Oh, that was close. Ench almost down to that, but does end up getting the first blood in time. I don't think got the spender gold. No, she did die before buying anything. Universe did buy his Iron Talon though, so not too bad in the end. As MSS bottom lane is going to sprint himself away after Zai got banished for safekeeping. And they already take the tower at 3.5 minutes. Last time around it was EG either taking towers or applying this much pressure at that point, but not the case here.
Yeah, I really like them focusing a lot on making sure Owie gets a good start. They almost always focus quite heavily on whatever lane Owie's in, whether it's an aggressive tri lane and doing well on that, or just giving him the safe farm. And last game, EG playing that tri lane just absolutely perfectly, so not giving up any room versus the super aggressive tri lane. And so this game, changing it up a little bit, giving Owie the safe lane and giving him that free farm. So already has the HOD up, changing things up a little bit, but Owie a player that thrives playing from ahead.
They're going to move on to Sumail in the mid lane, but I think this was scouted when they walked up the ramp. As I say that, the cold snap, it's been a while since they moved up that ramp. He's going to commit the ultimate here to try and survive. The crush comes through, it connects on two, prevents Universe from giving the backup. A good backstab by MSS. Now that said, that is a pretty heavy commitment, and they really needed the kill. They will slow the Alchemist down, I should say. But it is forfeiting a completely empty lane to Artesian. Perhaps more importantly, it means the Slardar is having a fairly rough time of it for MSS.
Yeah, there wasn't really much he could be doing with that time, so it was nice that he sort of ran through the jungle. They did have this ward here, so maybe he went down a little lower under the small camp and going around that way, or somehow not spotted, or maybe they did see him and just didn't think he had kill potential.
I thought they were expecting it because Crit was just like hugging the tower for a while, but then they ended up backing off. So not sure if EG saw it and then we're like, they're probably not going for it, or if they just never had vision in the first place.
Yeah, Sumail only one creep away from his ultimate whenever they had started, so got his ultimate at about half HP. If he had that creep had died just a second earlier, would have had the regen going a little bit earlier and would have been able to take a couple of steps, pop the salve, and have that tick for a couple of seconds and probably live there. So just seconds away from being a little bit too late, so really nice time for NP getting that kill. Once again, punishing Sumail before he gets his level 6 and becomes basically invulnerable, hitting those very small timing windows that matter a lot in a game like this.
Envy with the pause and the ping. He's closing in on his Midas here, so definitely wants to make sure he gets there without an unnecessary death. But yeah, this is a much better laning stage, Quinn. My god, they're up 2,500 gold. Granted, they did already take a tier 1, but that's still a big lead. As well as nearly 1,000 experience. So everything going according to plan here early on for NP. If you're AG, were you expecting this? Oh, they also had the courier snipe, obviously. Like, were you expecting to lose the lanes, or is this kind of coming as a surprise to them? And I guess more importantly, how do they adapt heading into the mid game?
I don't think they were expecting to lose the lanes, but they were definitely expecting NP to have a really good time. I think whenever you pick an Enchantress or the other team picks an Enchantress, that you can sort of, you could tell the NP with that last pick sort of surprising EG maybe a little bit, but whenever you see that, you just sort of have to realize, all right, they're almost all in on this early game in a sense that this Enchantress hero, if she doesn't have a good start, falls off very quickly. So EG not giving up too many kills. That kill on Sumail pretty costly. It's going to slow down his armlet a fair amount and make him maybe more killable in the future. Not too big of a deal as MSS is pretty far away from the amplified damage, so if you can get to that amp damage force, Alchemist has the armlet. It's a pretty huge deal as you have a lot of kill potential on him, but it looks like EG will beat that timing, but they're not giving up too many kills. The Ench only level 3, so not very close to the impetus yet, and now he's starting to farm up, but yeah, overall I think EG is okay with this. The X, I think the biggest scare for EG right now is the X, only 100 gold, so really far away from his Blink Dagger at this point, so NP will have a pretty spacious window where EG is trying to farm up some core items to allow them to fight.
And that really is their only initiation, aside from, repelling the Alk or the OD and they just run in. There will be a call mid though, so speaking of comeback potential and getting a Blink Dagger in a timely fashion, Universe a little bit closer to it, now up to 300 gold.
Sumel's actually...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sumel's actually going to go for the either the Solar Crest build or like the S and Y into maybe like Blink Dagger, because he did get the treads, and going 203. Whatever his next skill point is may define what build he's going to. Does he go 30? What does he do? Because okay, so it goes 204. He may get the stun next level, because normally whenever you go the treads, he'll be going for more of a fighting build. So maybe realizing, hey, I can't get the Radiance immediately this game, or something like that. But getting the treads this early on, not typically super common. And I know Sumel has been trying the no Radiance build on Alchemist in pubs lately, so maybe thinking it's appropriate here as NP are gonna be putting the pressure on pretty heavily in the near future.
Yeah, does grab the Iron Talon, so we'll have to see which direction he goes. For now, not committing towards a bigger item, but there's a crit moving in. He does drop a ward. He's pretty far out, though. He doesn't have a point in repel yet. Sunstrike comes in. Bop! Got him. And now we're going to look for Zai as well with the tether already committed. Well, MSS, you said not the fastest level 6, but suddenly he's been given 1 kill, gifted a second. Envy on a double kill and killing spree streak here. So tons of gold for the Invoker. A fast amp damage now all of a sudden on the horizon. And Alk nowhere near a potential armlet, so they are going to have a big window where they can look to punish him. Speaking of punish, it's straight back to the top lane. It's right on the crit again. The Omni Knight picked off once more as quickly as he comes back into the game. He's down for the count. EG hemorrhaging kills. It's only 8 minutes in. That was the first rock of the game, and I'm checking out support levels here. You've got a level 6 Warlock walking around. Meanwhile, Io's 4 and Omni is 3. And Sumail is about to be dead again. God Strength committed. Creeps are there. He can't even bring down Envy. This game is crumbling, but not for the guy who popularized the phrase. It's crumbling for EG.
Yeah, they're you can sort of see this game and a little bit of last game. EG likes to play these very constructed games where, the early game is sort of calmer. They get some of their core items up, and then they play the game very methodically, logically, realizing what the other team's timings are and playing around those. But NP just playing super aggressive this game, getting the Enchantress, and maybe realizing some of EG's weaknesses and how aggressive they like to get early, or how they're typically reasonably passive early on. So punishing that pretty heavily. And now he did use the God Strength for that last fight over there, so not able to farm the Ancients right now. We'll see if he dies to them again. I doubt it, but
did you say dies to them?
Changing up their style a little bit.
Oh, dies to EG, you mean?
Dies to the Ancients.
Oh, I think he's going to be okay with the Warlock here. For now, should be in alright shape. As Crit moves into the Roshan pit, wants to hang out near the Ancients. They did see that this is happening, but there's a smoke bypassing the Omni and moving deeper into the bottom lane. EG don't appear to be remotely ready for this. Alk is not really a great rotator in these scenarios. They have the amp damage. It's going to be a quick pick-off on Zai, most likely. Tether's out for now, but a Sunstrike cuts him up and spits him out. EE on point. Well, he didn't used to be known for his Invoker, but I think what he's showing is that if you give him enough time in practice, he can learn pretty much anything.
Yeah, his versatility in pubs is like 0.01 right now, I think. So just continuing to spam Invoker has been doing it for weeks now. So
yeah, if you go by the versatility score, not so much, but I guess if you look at it historically, then this is something a bit newer for him. Yeah, they're going to look for that tower now, and EG really can't defend towers at this stage. They don't have a blink on you. Oh, MSS, is he going to get his revenge for last game? Amp damage? Oh, it doesn't have sprint for 2 seconds. He still wants to chase it. There is a Sunstrike ready, I believe. Well, hasn't invoked it, actually. And Universe a bit too healthy now.
Yep, it's sort of the reverse of last game. Both of NP's cores having the start they wanted, getting some of their core items up at a reasonable time, and now Aoi already with the Echo Saber up considerably faster than he had it last game. 1k gold on his way to the blink, so Sumail looks like he is going for the armlet now, but it's only the Gloves of Haste top of the tread, so definitely not the kind of net worth you want to see on an Alchemist, a hero that really needs to be ahead, especially versus the amount of physical damage NP has. A whole lot of physical burst with the Slaughter, the Sven and the Invoker, and whenever they do have those core items up at a reasonable time, you really have to worry as an Alchemist, even with an Omni on your side.
Crit tries to scare Aoi away with the self-repel, but the Rogue Knight is not afraid. He just starts hammering away at the tower, has the God Strength ready. No Alch stacks that he can go easily steal, it looks like, but towers, they ain't going anywhere. Aoi's going to take this one. Last hit to him. Echo Saber up. Already Alacrity online, and there's a crush. Follow-up Sunstrike, Stormbolt's there. Chopping off of his head. NP just being straight down the middle lane, and EG not really home to defend it. If they are home, that might mean they're dead. Amp damage is going to give them plenty of vision of Zai, who's extremely low. Sumail does manage to complete the armlet, and they also get the blink on Axe. They're going to need this first blink reveal to be something special because they are under immense duress already. Sunstrike, Crush, and the Rock. It even hits Universe right when he's about to blink in and potentially go for a call. So they don't find anything. They commit the, well, not even the relocate, excuse me, just the rotation on Zai to come into the middle lane. Still don't have access to the Wisp Bolt at 12 minutes. And now he sticks around. They didn't use God Strength there. He has another Ancient stack with Cardi assisting him in that endeavor. They can potentially just start looking at Roshan. And I don't know if EG can really contest it.
Yeah, they're playing exactly how you like to, and how Alchemists really hate if they lose all their towers early on. As heroes like him, more farming cores, you typically think that killing them would be one of the best things you could do, but NP realizing that getting the map control away is much better, as even if the hero dies a couple of times, he can fall back to the jungle and catch up that way, getting mud golem spawns and stacking up some camps. But the Enchantress, that's why she's known for being very good against Alchemists. You just pressure very early on, you get super early towers, and Alchemist sort of just runs out of places to farm a hero that does not function very well on low items.
Yeah, and they do now back that early aggression up with a Midas, so they can transition here extremely well later on into the game. And of course you do have the Impetus, so perhaps one of the best tools to deal with the Repel later on in the game. Does pure spell immunity, but they do find Envy in the river. Unfortunately, he's the Aegis Bearer, so this could be turned around in a hurry. They don't have the Rock for this fight, but now he gets into them, into the backlines, an aggressive jump forward. Now Arteezy on the run, repelled, and more importantly, the Omni ult committed to get him out safely. So fight's over, folks, at least for now. They lose an IO, but they do manage to crack the Aegis, so EG probably all right with that, and that'll be the end of the fight.
Yeah, getting the Aegis off of E, not really super amazing for either team. Both teams probably just okay with it. It was really risky for NP, as like you said, having the Rock down and also the God Strength down. So definitely a fight that could have gone quite sour for them, but having the Aegis luckily on EE and not on the Sven instead. So
man, their economy is looking so good, though. I mentioned the Midas on the edge. They actually already have one on Warlock as well. So they have triple Midas and a Sven. Like, can EG even take this late? Like, sure, they've got some heroes that scale well, but is there any way they can keep up and farm? Alk is down 2.5k already to a Sven, and that is not going to abate anytime soon.
Yeah, the having the Sven on top of the Slaughter, with Aoi having the Blink Dagger up as well, the initiation is just very, very strong. But Universe having this Blink Dagger, these fights actually can go EG's way if they get the jump in these fights. They need to
as you say that, Caster's Curse has struck you too. It gets scanned. And they are going to potentially look for a turnaround here. Aoi jumping right in. He immediately lops off Zai's head. The Golem comes through and all hell breaks loose. EG on the run. Well, you talk about getting the jump. That is not the kind of jump that EG had in mind. Oh no, Sumail won't make it out either. NP just decisively turning this game from a bit of a, well, not even a bit, from a substantial advantage into a straight up blowout. 13-2 now. This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, NP with the super fast TP bottom after getting that kill. Normally you'd expect them to go for that tower, but
Oh, Artor has no
realizing our
TP
TC is
here.
gonna go another wave.
Crit already went down elsewhere while this was happening, and then a Sunstrike. That's 4 dead around the map. They even found the Omni in the river. NP, GG.
Wow.
You know, Arteezy called it, man. Arteezy knew. He said GG, go next when the game began, and I think he was trolling a little bit, but maybe he didn't like the draft. NP though, they certainly loved it.
Wow. NP hammered back just as hard as EG won that first game. What a draft.
That was dominant. So where did it go wrong? I mean, there's some bad things that happen in the laning stage, right? The courier gets sniped, and shuts down the axe. They get great wards in the jungle. Slardar got a lot more out of the offlane. They had that rotation where they backstab mid, and then they got the double kill. Was it just too many mistakes from EG, or do you feel like it's more of a drafting issue here?
I think the game was a lot on the draft. EG's lineup with that last pick, Alchemist, just really greedy and took quite a while to get online. They needed, some items, need to farm for 10-15 minutes, having the supports defend heroes, defend lanes, towers, etc. So they have room to get those items up. But with the last pick Enchantress, I don't think they saw that coming at all. And NP taking some cores that normally are expected to farm up to be reasonably defensive and pretty slow, and turning them into a very fast-paced lineup and really sticking it to EG.
Yeah, if you have to pick an MVP, I mean, everyone played well, but I think you look at the tempo of this game, and SVG, he took over from the lanes, and he just never let up. So with that, EG, they dropped game 2. Apparently, being top dog at NA isn't quite as easy as their fans might have thought, and we do get a juicy game number 3. Winner of this does not go to LAN, though. They still have to win the grand finals, which will be our second and final match tomorrow. Complexity currently waiting in the lower bracket to find out who they'll be facing. I'm LD. He's CCNC. You can follow him on Twitter at CCNC Dota 2. And with that, we'll take a quick break here. You're watching Dota Pit, brought to you by Beyond the Summit. We'll be back for Game 3.
Gaming Bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quests for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.